Brey, appreciate the time this morning. So how did it shake out with you getting the job at Pea Ridge? How did it go about, just everything involving that job, man?
Yes, sir. Good morning. Well, first off, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. It kind of happened quick. It happened fast. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on in the world, and when Jeff Williams gives you a call, you answer it. It's an honor to be able to talk to him and talk to Tony Travis, the AD here at Pea Ridge, and to be able to be offered a job at a school and a community that I really believe in. So, it's an honor to be back home. I'm really excited about it. I'm actually sitting outside looking at the stadium right now. And it's a beautiful thing, I'll tell you that.
Brey, you mentioned being back in the community. You went to Springdale Harbor. How nice is it to be back in that community of Northwest Arkansas?
Oh, it's incredible. It's awesome to be back home. I'm near my family. I get to see my brother every day. I got my boat on Beaver Lake, and my dog is back where he was born. So, it's good to be back and see everybody, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you mentioned when Jeff Williams calls, you answer. Is there anyone more connected? Is there a phone number in football he doesn't have, Brey? I think He's got everybody's phone number in his phone. It's a treasure trove. There's
no doubt. One of the best parts about the job so far has been just sitting, talking ball with him, and getting to learn from his experiences and people he's coached with, coached for, and had coached for him. So it's definitely an honor to be, around a guy like him every day.
Now, walk us through, because you've spent some time being a GA, and kind of walk us through from your playing days to where you're at now and kind of what you've been up to.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I left Arkansas, I was at the Redskins, signed a contract, lasted about 7 days. So I got my tail out of there and then went back, had a couple surgeries, and that's where Coach Bielema offered me a graduate assistant job in Fayetteville. So I was fortunate enough to be able to start my coaching career with him, coaching for Kurt Anderson, Dan Enos. Spent 2 years under Bielema, and then Mike Norvell hired me on at Memphis. So I was able to spend a year at Memphis under him, learning so much under him. I actually worked with Ryan Silverfield, who is now their current head coach, when Mike left. So I was able to learn from two, incredible coaches, obviously, who had a lot of success. And after my year at Memphis, I moved on to Bolivar, Missouri, a change of pace, where I was an offensive line coach, run game coordinator, and at the Division II school, I took over the title as strength coach as well. So that was a world I was able to dive into, and I spent a year and a half there before Coach Williams called me down to Pea Ridge. So that's kind of that catches you up to speed.
Brey, this is Clay. I just give me the view of what you think is about to happen at Arkansas with Coach Pittman and Coach Davis, and as far as kind of getting the offensive line up to speed.
Sam Pittman is absolutely the right guy for the job. I think obviously when you have guys like Travis Swanson, Dan Skipper, and Frank Ragnow come out and say this is the man that needs to be the head coach, people listen, and I'm glad they did, because Sam Pittman is absolutely, he's going to bring energy, he's going to bring the recruiting, and obviously he's already brought a staff that I think we can all say is pretty spectacular. A lot of big names coming in, and some guys who are really going to be able to transform, Arkansas football and get it to where it needs to be. And you look at what he's able to do with his past O-line. He's got guys all over the country who just absolutely love him and have had a lot of success, not just in college, but, afterwards, not only in the NFL, but in the real world as well. I mean, he really develops young men into leaders, and I don't think I've ever met a guy say, one bad word about it. And, I'm very excited for those guys who are O-linemen under that system. They're going to have a blast. They're going to work. They're going to work a lot, but they're going to grow, and I think they're going to be able to see that pretty quickly. I understand they're back on campus, so full speed ahead to them.
Talking with Brey Cook, former Razorback, current Pea Ridge offensive lineman coach here on the Morning Rush. Brey, you bring up former players, and you mentioned 3 offensive linemen. I had a couple buddies in college who were on the football team that text me when I was just kind of questioning the hire or whatever, and they said, "You'll like Coach Pittman, blah, blah, blah." And these were not offensive linemen, Brey. These were a cornerback, a defensive tackle, but they were coming to his defense relatively quickly. So it's not just offensive linemen that he's affected, man, that seem to really like him. It's all the players. How unique is that an offensive line coach was really able to transcend the entire football team?
100%. Well, his personality, that's just who he is. You're going to get along with him. You're going to love him. You're going to sit and hang on every word he says. And that's one of his biggest, points as a coach is he's going to have a relationship, like you said, not just with his players, his own linemen, but with everybody walking the hallways. Janitors working the hallways, whether it's, a professor on campus. He's easy to talk to. And the guys kind of fall in love with him, and that's kind of part of his magic. So, and it's not just the players, but also their families. And he does a great job at keeping in touch with, everybody that surrounds a student athlete, his whole entire support system. So he's going to check in, on your mom, on your sister, on your brother, and it's genuine. That's who he is. And that's why I think everyone's so excited, because for those student athletes at Arkansas right now, they're going to get something out of him that they might not get out of a lot of coaches.
Brey, tell us a little bit about Pea Ridge football, because I think if you go around 75% of the state, they're going to say, well, that's where the battlefield is. That's about their knowledge of Pea Ridge. The growth that they've had in that town, that area, and how does that translate to what's ahead for y'all in football?
Absolutely. So this community is one that is growing. The high school is actually brand new. We're excited to move into it, from what I understand, here in the next couple months. The Pea Ridge is known, for me personally, you knew Pea Ridge football is a town with grit. It's a gritty town. It's a tough, hard-nosed football program, and that's a brand that I really wanted to get behind. And that's why whenever he called, I said, absolutely, I'm very interested in the opportunity because of what Pea Ridge represents, and that's toughness. And these kids being able to move into the 5A conference, one that is so, highly respected, in the state. There's so many talented programs in this conference. It'll be exciting to jump in and to be able to compete with some of the best coaches and programs, around the state.
You mentioned grittiness. I think that's another word we use for toughness. What did you learn about instilling toughness while you were at Arkansas that maybe you can put in your game as a coach with high school kids? How will you instill toughness with your kids and being physical up front based on what you learned playing at Arkansas?
Yeah, I think I was fortunate, playing for Sam Pittman and playing with the guys that I did, on the offensive line. That toughness kind of gets instilled, every single day you come to work. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want to bring to Pea Ridge. Not that it's not already here. I just want to help build on it. Is you just got to come in every day and go to work. And that's really what being an offensive lineman is. It's not glorious. It's not shiny, but it's tough. It's hard work, and it's worth it because of the growth that you see at the end of it. And so at the end of my playing days, to see how I was able to transform just mentally, from my O-line coaches, from strength coaches, Coach Herb, Coach Velkamp at Arkansas. I mean, those things are things that I wouldn't trade for the world, and that's kind of what I want to help give back to some of these young O-linemen here at Pea Ridge.
Talking with former Razorback Brey Cook here on the Morning Rush. Brey, another avenue of toughness you learned from is from your grandfather, and with Father's Day approaching, just kind of take us back through what you learned from him over the years and how important he was to your success growing up.
Absolutely. Warren Cook. So my first name is actually Warren. I'm named after my grandfather, Warren. He is a man amongst boys. I'll tell you what, I go out and work with him. He works Cook excavating, a dirt business, selling topsoil. And I'll tell you what, I've done a lot of things in my life, but working with him for a day will wear me out. That's the biggest thing I learned from him growing up is sometimes you just have to put that hard hat on, go out there on days you don't want to work, and really get after it. And I think for me, that started probably when I was in high school, 10th or 11th grade. He actually came out and did the dirt work and laid the turf for Harbor High School's football field. And I was able to be a part of that and watch him, work in the blistering July heat at his age. He's in his older 70s, and I promise you right now, he is out there screening topsoil. And that's just one of those things that I think about every morning is as easy as life can be for me. There's Warren is out there right now digging dirt, and that's who he is. And there's no way to get him out off of that equipment. I mean, he grinds, man, and that's something I think about a lot, and I try to bring with me everywhere I go.
So what's your favorite piece of equipment to run? Bulldozer, dump truck, excavator? What are you best at, Brey, and what do you like to tear up the most with what piece of equipment?
Well, that's the problem, is I like to tear things up. So he's got to build. He's got to be delicate. It's so delicate. You got to learn sometimes, kind of like my golf swing. It's not always full tempo. You gotta slow it down every once in a while. I forget that a lot. So I'm typically best with the old bulldozer. I'd like to soften it up and start getting some of those little more delicate pieces of machinery.
Yeah. Not. That's always fun stuff there. I can only imagine it. I think that's every guy's dream, is to get into a bulldozer, get on a bulldozer, get into an excavator, and just rip something. That kind of goes towards that mentality of an offensive lineman, I think, too.
Oh, there's no doubt. Hey, I'll tell you what, if you're ever having a bad day, give me a call. We'll come out there and knock down some trees. You'll be all right.
Knock down some trees.
There you go. That's one way to get physical.
But no doubt.
Yeah. Well, hey, there's not any coronavirus in that dirt. You can go play in the dirt, right, Brey?
Exactly. Some social distance out there, just you and some machines and destruction. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Destruction.
Hey, Brey, speaking of, Clay brings up coronavirus. Obviously, it's a matter that we talk about college football and will they get the season in, and NFL. What are you guys hearing on the high school front? Obviously the next 45 days are critical as to how the high school season will proceed. What are you guys hearing?
Well, it's definitely, I'll tell you, it's a unique time to be in coaching. It's a unique time to be doing anything, really, but we've got kids coming in, and the biggest thing now is you have to be hyper alert to their safety and the cleanliness of what they're doing. So fortunately here at Pea Ridge, the weight room is rather spaced out, so we are able to bring them in groups, smaller groups, and move them around and spread them out in a way that's safe for them, safe for us, and we're able to follow them around with cleaning supplies and make sure that everything they touch has been sanitized before they touch it. So it's definitely a lot of thought that goes into workouts now, probably twice as much, just of organizing it and making sure that these kids are safe and can come in and compete at high levels without worrying about, getting sick.
Brey Cook with us, Pea Ridge offensive line coach on the Morning Rush. Brey, you had one of the best quotes while you were in college talking about the Texas Longhorns. You said, I never dreamed of the NFL growing up. I've dreamt of playing in Texas, as a Razorback. Beating the Longhorns in the Texas Bowl, is that the pinnacle of your athletic career?
There's not a doubt in my mind. That's one of those things, you grow up a Razorback fan, you grow up hating Texas and not knowing why you hate Texas, and to be able to play a team as historically, profound as Texas in their home state and walk away with a trophy with, some of your best friends is a feeling I know other. That's definitely a special moment in my life, and those pictures holding up trophies and memories of going to Houston with guys I went to war with every day. It's definitely very special, and I couldn't have gone out in any other way.
Brey, it was that moment, and there was other points in the season, the LSU win, the Ole Miss win. You're like, okay, this is really going to get going at Arkansas under Brett Bielema. Mm-hmm. Were you surprised at how his tenure at Arkansas played out based on how you guys finished the 2014 season?
I mean, sure. There's so many intangibles that go into college coaching, and that's one of the biggest things I've learned over this ride is so much goes into it, and obviously, it didn't end how I would imagine, but that's one of those things. It's got to end somehow and sometime, and it is what it is. So I'm excited for Arkansas, to turn another page with Coach Pittman being in and bringing his tempo. I think that it's going to be an exciting time for the SEC, especially several new coaches. So it'll be a lot of fun to see him kind of recruit against these major teams in the SEC that are difficult to recruit against, and it'll be fun to watch his tenure unfold.
So, Brey, what are 2 or 3 things that have to happen for Sam Pittman and this program to just get, off their belly, flat on the ground, and just get on their knees and get back to being the program that we know it can be someday? What are some things that have to happen in this first season or 2 or 3 to begin the return?
I think it all starts with, kids getting back on campus and being able to compete in that weight room and be healthy about it. I think that Sam is faced with a unique challenge as a first-year head coach with a global pandemic. How do you get your offense, your terminology, how do you get your culture installed when you can't even have your kids on campus? And obviously they're back now and doing things, but I think the biggest thing is going to be just getting them on campus, getting them with the strength coach, and because that's where it all happens. You can say what you want about assistant coaches, coordinators, but your strength coach, he takes over that program for a majority of the year. And so I'm excited for them to be able to get in there and grow in that strength, in that weight room. Outside of that, it's about the O-lineman. I know I'm biased, but I'm going to sit here and tell you, and I think a lot of people would agree, that it kind of depends on what happens up front. And I know they've got guys there, and it's time to develop them and get them right. I know Coach Davis will do a great job. I've coached against him, and he's always had some dudes up front. So he'll get these guys right. Him and Sam are going to be a heck of a team, and those kids are very fortunate to be able to learn from these coaches. I'm very excited for them. So I think it starts in the weight room, and then the O-line's got to get right, which I know they will.
They're going to get bigger, aren't they, Brey?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The size, there's not going to be any tall, skinny guys, right?
No, they're all going to look like me. They're going to be I'm the wrong kind of 330 now. It's been a while since I hit the old weight room.
Brey, this is coming from a 66-year-old. It gets worse.
I tell you what, I was on it for a little bit. I was losing weight and doing things, but this coronavirus kind of shut me up, and I gotta get back and get active. I gotta get after a little bit. It's getting scary.
You're not the only one.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
It's everyone doing the show right now.
Yeah.
Brey, you mentioned your little stint as the strength and conditioning coordinator. When these guys are getting back on campus, and it started last week, getting back in with Jamil Walker, how painful are these first couple workouts going to be? It's not like these guys hadn't been doing anything, but as well as I do, a college-centered workout from the head of strength and conditioning is going to be a lot more painful on the joints than you doing whatever you're doing at your house or in your gym.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's a couple of them who were feeling it this morning. They're trying to walk out or crawl out of bed and get down that hill to the weight room. Because I've done it. I've been there. There's several of them who are probably trying to buy a scooter right now because they're having a tough time walking, and they'll get through it. It's definitely going to be a little tight for a couple of days, but that's part of it. It doesn't matter what you're doing at home. When you get there and those lights turn on, it's go time at a whole different level of intensity than you can bring, doing your at-home workout on TV, and that's just part of it, and then that's why we love it. So they'll be all right, but there's definitely going to be a little bit of soreness.
Brey, let me top off the interview with this, man. I know that Brett Bielema was your head coach, and I know that you went to school at the University of Arkansas, which kind of puts you in a weird position with Brett Bielema suing the Razorback Foundation for what hasn't been paid, he thinks, rightfully to him. Have you seen that story? Do you have any thoughts on that, man, as we let you go?
I don't know enough, a whole lot about it to be able to talk about it. I know I wish I was getting $7 million in my pocket. So, I wish him the best of luck with everything. I hope it just, gets taken care of and handled correctly. Obviously, it's part of the business, That's big-time football, a lot of money being thrown around, and I'm sure they'll handle it, the right way.
Brey, you need to talk to your AD about getting a $7 million buyout or $12 million, whatever it was.
No doubt. I'm going to talk to Tony Travis right now. Hopefully he's listening.
There you go. I need to talk to Tommy about that, too. Brey Cook, former Arkansas offensive lineman, current Pea Ridge offensive line coach. Brey, thanks for making some time for us on the Morning Rush, man.
Hey, thank you guys so much.